My name's Christina Manis. I'm a licensed pharmacist of over 25 years. I own my own wellness center where I teach yoga and do wellness coaching and a bunch of other stuff. So today's podcast is about healthcare and about your prescription medications. So this is a conversation that is a long time coming, and because I have worked in pharmacy for over 25 years, all told maybe closer to 30, I have a pretty good insider's view about the westernized medicine, the prescription end of things, the prescribing, and how the pharmacy part of your health insurance works, and the problems that come with these big PBMs that you keep hearing about in the news. And all of that is very real. There are problems. We do pay more for prescription medications in our country than other countries that are comparable, like Canada or the various countries across Europe. Everybody else pays less for the same drugs. That doesn't make any sense, but when you look at capitalism in our society, it does make sense because we even have commercials for the prescription medications, and they have always been termed dangerous drugs. That is what they are called in pharmacy law and medical law. And that's why you require a prescriber to give you a prescription for them, because you can't just buy them over the counter at the grocery store like you can buy Tylenol. And it's because they are dangerous. They do have toxic side effects and adverse reactions and interactions. And in our hospital system, there are so many people that get hospitalized because of their prescription medications having adverse reactions or interacting, and it lands them in the hospital. It's hard to diagnose and figure out what's going on. So in the United States, it's really unusual that we are not more active in trying to change the healthcare system in the way that we pay so much more than they do in other countries. So that's curious to begin with. But we also have these extra companies like these PBMs that don't even need to be in the game, and they are skimming off the top of our healthcare economy. And then therefore it's businessmen that are not doctors or pharmacists or nurses or staff, healthcare staff. They're the ones that are getting the money, and they get the taxpayers' money when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid. So with all of that said, the conversation really, we can hone in on how to make this more personal in our own lives by looking at, are we on prescription medications? And if so, why? Are we buying into the commercials? Are we seeing things on TV like the shots to lose weight, for example, and then going off to the doctor and saying, will you prescribe this for me? So if you're doing that, it's probably in your best interest to change the way that you look at healthcare for yourself, and that would be self-care. And you want to look at your body as it is natural, and you want to start there. So looking at what prescription medications do you even need to be on at this point in your life. And maybe you kind of don't understand why your doctor puts you on certain things. So if you don't know why you're on what you're on, or you don't know the names of the medications, or you don't particularly know what the medications exactly do, what I would suggest to begin with is one of two things. Take a moment in your life to do yourself the biggest favor that you've ever done for yourself and look into it. So there's an easy way to do this by just Googling, of course, and then you can read about adverse effects and side effects. And you're going to see a bunch of things listed, right? Just like in those commercials, they tell you everything, including death, can be a side effect, okay? But you just want to look at the things listed and keep that in mind of, am I having muscle pain? Am I tired all the time and I don't know why, right? And then you see in the side effects, lethargy. And then like, if you look in the side effects and you don't understand what some of the words mean, then you have to look those up. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. And that might bring up a bunch of other questions. So then what you would want to do is reach out to a licensed pharmacist. Now, it is very hard to get somebody at your CVS or Walmart or Walgreens to do, that's what we do for a living when we work for those places, but you know, they are going to tell you, well, yes, this could cause drowsiness, but you know, talk to your prescriber and you should probably stay on it. Or they may be able to identify some things in your profile that seem a little bit off. But if you're getting your prescriptions filled all at one pharmacy, your profile is being looked at quite often when you get your prescriptions filled. So those people, and I was one of them, and have been, you know, may return to that type of work in pharmacy where I'm behind a counter like that. Trust me, there is not a lot of time to really sit down and educate you about what you could be taking and how you can get off of some of your medications. You need to be able to sit down in an appointment with somebody, and some of the places do offer that. If you're, you know, on Medicare especially, you would have opportunities to be able to talk with somebody. But what I don't want you to do is trust somebody calling you on the telephone and telling you that you need to get on a medication like a statin for your cholesterol, and maybe you don't even have high cholesterol, but maybe you have a little bit of high blood sugar, and all of a sudden somebody is calling you on behalf of your insurance company to tell you that they want you to get on an additional medication. If you get that type of phone call, you should say no. You should definitely call up your insurance company and tell them that you do not want to receive phone calls from random practitioners, even if it is a pharmacist trying to get you to take medications. That is something that is supposed to happen between you and your prescriber, your doctor, right? Your primary care physician or your other doctors, your specialists. Nobody should be calling you on the phone to try to get you on a medication, yet this is happening. And so this is one of the reasons I really think this conversation is so necessary, because there's so much overprescribing to begin with. So a lot of people, if you're on a bunch of medications, we get to thinking we need to be on those medications, right? It's very hard to come off of them because psychologically we trust our doctor, we trust our pharmacist, we know that we weren't feeling well before and we just don't want to take any risks. And sure, there are some medications that people absolutely need to be on, but we have to be aware of the overprescribing problem that we have in the United States of America. And so I would thoroughly suggest finding a pharmacist who will sit down with you, or one like me who maybe owns their own pharmacy or their own wellness center, or they have their own business where they can schedule you for an appointment, and you know that they're not working for a big company who has a different agenda, right? The independent pharmacist is going to be able to comb through your drug profile, your medication profile, and they're going to be able to identify what medications might be making you feel tired. What is making you gain the weight? Okay, that's a big one for people. What could you switch to that would benefit you if you need to be on something? Let's say you have anxiety. Very real. Mental health is a very real issue that medications, in a lot of cases, can give a better quality of life to a person that has mental health issues like extreme anxiety. And in the world we live in, who doesn't have anxiety, right? There's nothing to be ashamed of. But there are medications, some are better than others. Some have bad side effects that you probably don't want to deal with. And you maybe don't even know that you are dealing with those. Some of those don't mix well with other medications. So it's important not to just take the doctor's word for it and sort of not know, because different doctors also have different theories. And just like any field, pharmacy, medical, any field at all, you have people in the field that are really good at what they do and people that are not as good at what they do. And doctors are not the medication experts, the pharmacists are. So some doctors do have a way that they blanket prescribe a certain set of medications to everybody, and it's not that individualized, right? But they're comfortable with that, and that's okay too. However, talk to a pharmacist and let's see if there aren't better options. And it's no discredit to your prescriber at all. If there are better options, then more so is if we are doing a good job in medicine, we are getting people off of their medications, not putting people on their medications. So again, if we are doing a good job in medicine, we are getting people off their medications, right? We are helping you to become healthier. And as a patient, you should not be looking at a commercial and wanting to go on prescription medications for any reason. You shouldn't, because that makes you a customer, a consumer. And then it takes you out of the, I'm a patient who needs to heal and get better and maintain my health, and I'm, wanting to go to the doctor to get to a better state of health and get advice on how to do that. And it switches you out of that seat and you go into a different seat where you're the consumer and you're swiping that card and you're looking to buy something that's gonna make you feel better, and even buying it and the idea of it makes you feel more empowered. And in the end, more and more and more in our bodies is not the right solution. What we want is to lighten up. We want to feel better. We want to have lighter bodies, lighter emotions, lighter thoughts, lighter energy, where we can just move around throughout our days and our weeks and our months and our years feeling really good in our skin. And we'll have the ups and downs of life to contend with, right? But we can feel well and have a high quality of life no matter what we're going through if we have totally good health, completely good health, total wellness, right? We don't get total wellness by taking more and more and more medications. Now, what about supplements? So I think supplements do have a place. Definitely homeopathy has a place. Certain absorbable forms of vitamins like vitamin B12, methylcobalamin is the more absorbable form of that. That is something that can really boost your energy. It does work. There are immune boosters that also do work. So there are supplements out there that I'm going to say are like probiotics, for example, also very good if you get the right one to help aid with digestion. And also they do keep your immunity boosted. So there are things out there with supplements that I say, yes, go for it, but also in moderation. I do not recommend having a whole counter full of supplements and taking handfuls and handfuls of them every day. I think there is a thing to be said about overkill when it does come to the supplements as well. So be smart about that. And also, again, talk to a licensed pharmacist or even a nutritionist or somebody in wellness when it does come to the supplements and herbs, vitamins, and homeopathy. Talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about, and that's where you want to go to somebody that's an expert in the field, and maybe not sit online all day with WebMD and Google search, because you can, and I do recommend educating yourself. But you can get sucked into a lot of different directions and tangents with things and opinions on things that you may or may not agree with. And if you're not in the medical field yourself and don't have a complete understanding, you might be wasting more time. You could be outside connecting with nature on a nice day, just taking a walk and getting some fresh air, and that would do your health and well-being so much better than frantically looking up side effects of drugs and which supplements might replace which prescription medications. And then the other thing is when you are looking to make some changes, everything is slow and steady wins the race, right? We don't just want to like shock our body and, okay, I'm getting off all my prescription meds and I'm going to go all natural. It's not the way to do it. You do want to do everything under the advice of your doctor that you trust, your pharmacist that you trust, right? Keep these people close to you, but also integrate wellness and the natural way of being well that our bodies are built for and meant for. Integrate that into your life and make that your life. So the human body is not meant to have a bunch of chemicals in it. It's not meant to have a bunch of prescription medications in it, right? And it has everything it needs to be healthy. Now, in some cases, if you are born a diabetic, you need to inject insulin or you need insulin. There's not going to be a way of getting around that. So there are some things that we do need in terms of having a high quality of life that modern medicine does have to offer. But trust me when I say that insulin should cost like $1 a vial. It's insane that we are still allowing big pharma and all of these other unnecessary companies in healthcare to just inflate the prices, harming the public who really do need these medications and are benefiting from them. And we could be compassionate and more kind when it comes to how we do capitalism and healthcare in the United States of America. I'm sad that it is the way it is, but I do believe that change can be had, and I'm doing everything that I can do to help influence it to go in a more compassionate direction. And that direction is understanding that we are natural beings. We don't need to be synthetic, bionic beings. I love what knee replacements and hip replacements have done for my older yogis and clients. It's been great for them. So there's a lot to be said about modern medicine and some of the procedures. Definitely open heart surgery. Wow. I mean, we've come so far with all of these things where, we're able to save lives in the medical field. And I believe that that does not need to be impeded by capitalism and greed. We should be able to do this on a more benevolent level. And the industry of healthcare should have a lot more care. So we're just trying to take it in that direction, but also a new direction for healthcare is you as the person who is the human being that might need to heal sometimes or might need the help of a doctor or a pharmacist. You looking at your own healthcare differently, where it's not about going to the doctor to get that prescription so that the doctor can fix me and make me feel better. Switch it to the angle of, I want to feel great. I'm going to invest in my health. I know what works for me and what doesn't. And I know that I can feel better. I need a little bit of guidance on how to get there. And if you're one that's on a lot of prescription medications, start thinking about, well, what am I, doing that's unnatural? What do I put in my body that's not natural? Think about those prescription medications too when you're thinking about, do you drink alcohol? Are you eating food products instead of food? Okay, so are you just eating whole foods, which means not a bunch of ingredients, and that knocks out bread and pasta, crackers, cookies, the things that typically are in the American diet? And if you're not just eating lean proteins like chicken, you can have some beef. I like bison. Some people don't eat pork. There's fish and seafood. There's ways to eggs. There's ways to get lean protein. And are you doing that with vegetables, or is it just steak and potatoes, which it seems like that's a protein in a vegetable, but potatoes are starchy and carby, and it's not good to just eat that all the time. So looking into like, well, I can be rational. There's so much information out there about even how I eat is a good place to start, right? And then, how much sugar is going into the drink. If you're making tea or you're doing coffee, even like, are you putting sugary syrups in that? And so how much am I consuming that I'm not really looking at? Am I doing that mindless eating while I'm sitting at the computer? Do I have some nuts next to me? And that's a whole food. But once you go and if you eat 1/4 of a cup of nuts, that's a serving. Well, that's a really small amount. Once you eat a cup of them and you keep going, that's no longer something that's healthy for you. So looking at what I'm putting in my body to begin with is a place to start, but you do want to look at those prescription medications and the supplements and, all of the things that you're convinced that you do need, and start there as well. And then the other thing I always really suggest is, getting outdoors, getting off the computer, getting off of social media, away from your desk, especially if you work from home, and movement. Having movement in your life is going to do amazing things for you. Stay active, get outdoors to connect with the beautiful world that we live in. Because if you're only looking at a screen, especially if you're looking at news or headlines, then you're not appreciating all the beauty that is in the world, because that's outside in nature, right? And so there's so much that our world does have to offer. You just have to find that, and it's just right outside. So I do encourage that as well. And then, socializing, actually getting out face to face. It is a fact that even if you went to lunch with somebody whose company you don't really enjoy, it helps your health and your well-being and your happiness so much more than if you don't have that social connection. So connecting with people in person is really important. And I feel like one of the things that helps my health and well-being is to every once in a while just send somebody a note, a random hi, I'm thinking about you, and I just wanted to let you know I appreciate you, and I know we haven't talked in a while, but you popped into my mind, and I just wanted to send this little note to you and tell you that you mean the world to me, and you're an important person, and that I admire you, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? But just making somebody else happy, because when somebody gets a little note in the mail, especially because sure, you can send one online, and I love getting those texts from my friends that send them. I really do. And the Instagram posts that people send, I love receiving those as well. But sometimes I like to send something in the mail, snail mail, like literally with the stamp on it, because when people get that, it gives them that joy when they open something unexpected and they see that you took the time to write something out and send it. It's personal. It's even more personal that way. And so that's another thing I recommend, is like doing something nice for somebody else, or even just helping out a stranger. That is going to do a lot for your health and well-being. But getting away from relying on medications, prescription medications particularly, or thinking that you need to be taking something to feel better. Now, again, there are certainly medications. I'm on some prescription medications myself. I have reduced the number of medications that I am on. However, I'm still going to reduce that even more. But there are a few that I do feel like are important for me right now to be taking. Now, if I didn't have access to those medications, I would not be in danger, because I don't have to take something like insulin, where it's critical to take that to maintain good health and not land in the hospital. So I'm very, very lucky to be healthy. And I think at some point I can probably get off of all of my prescription medications. I feel that I can do that, and that I will be holistically healthy. But again, even for somebody like me, I've been on a health journey, my whole life, and I haven't always made the best decisions when I was younger. But now at 50 years old, I'm doing better than ever with my health. But it takes time. It is not something that happens overnight, where if you've got some health problems, like I had, some problems with blood pressure, and I have my own problems with cholesterol. However, I've been able to get the blood pressure regulated, and there are reasons for that, but it has a lot to do with meditation and yoga and movement and walking and connecting with nature and having the right support system around me. And it took me a long time to find the right support system. I had roller coasters, of different social groups because I'm an active person, and, I was active in my community pretty much no matter where I live, but I lived in a few different places. And so I haven't always felt like I had a really good support system, although I do have a lot of awesome, amazing friends. They're in all different places across the United States, or I don't think anybody else is living out of the States right now, but they're at some various points, some of them were in other parts of the world too. So it wasn't like I had a support system right there in my community all the time that I felt like was a safety net for me. And so I had times with my anxiety that was roller coastery because of that. And so I will tell you that when it does take time to settle down, sometimes that happens with age, where you're not as restless and you start to hone in on what is your purpose, or what do you want your purpose to be, or where are you best suited. And sometimes it takes us a while to find that. And I kind of knew where I was best suited, but it took me a while to get to the right place where I was able to finally have a wellness center. Then it took a couple of years to build, to have a clientele. And also now I have a support system in the area that I live in which I had moved in 2019. So now, 6 years later, I'm like, great, okay, I finally have everything that, I've been looking to do for decades, but I just had to get to the right place at the right time. And now I have the support system too. None of that happened overnight, nor did I get off of my medications that I have been able to get off of. That didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of changes. It does take changes with eating. I'm going to be really honest that what you put in your body is what you're going to get out of your body. So junk in, junk out, right? If you're putting food products in your body, like Cosmic Brownies, that's a food product, right? Cheese Whiz, even some of the cheeses are not, it just is, it's not real food, especially fast food. If you're even eating fast food at all at this point, please don't. I mean, if you're on the road traveling, I get it, you need calories, but otherwise, it's just something that is not healthy and natural, and it's not good for the human body. So, food is really important. But again, when we get back to talking about medications that you are taking or things that you think that you want to try, back off and take a different look at this and think about making your body more natural and more in harmony with itself. It has everything that it needs to be healthy and happy. You just have to know what to put in there to keep it going that way. And it's the healthy food. And if you're going to be on medications at all, the right medications and the right combinations that are going to bring you to your optimal wellness and your highest quality of health and your highest quality of well-being. So with all of that said, I hope you got something out of today's podcast, and I am available to do medication reviews, even online. So you can check out my website at www.becalmyogastudio.com, and I'll throw that up on the screen. I'll also put the phone number on the screen that you can feel free to text or call to set up an appointment. And again, you don't have to be, I'm in Ohio right now, you don't have to be anywhere near me to get the medication review, because we can sit down on a video call and you can just even put the bottles up if you don't have a list. And don't know how to say the names of them, no big deal. None of us do. They're like made up names for the most part anyway, so don't worry about it. So yeah, I can go through that with you, and you can tell me, what your concerns are, and I can make suggestions, and then simply you can take the suggestions back to your provider, and which I can email you a PDF or I can text it to you of what I would suggest. And you can take it to your prescriber, your doctors, and say, yeah, I had my medication profile reviewed by a licensed pharmacist, and this is what they had to say. What are your thoughts on this? I'm willing to make some of these changes if you don't see that there's any problem with it. And also for you as a patient, take control of your health, because if your doctor is guiding you in a direction you don't want to go, and they're, maybe they're trying to get you to take a medication you don't want to take, and they're not listening to you when you're saying like, I don't feel well on this, then you know what? You are the boss of you. It is so important to understand that there are other providers out there who will listen. So if you're not with the right doctor, then you can, and I know sometimes with a specialist, it's like, well, it's hard to find somebody else. But if you're not with the right fit, you owe it to yourself to, dedicate some time to go out and look and try to make a different connection with somebody who is going to listen and be the right fit for you. But I find that most providers, if they know that you have taken your health into your own hands, they're pretty easy to work with you once they know that you're educated enough to know what you're talking about, and you're not just trying to push them, especially for them to prescribe something that they're not comfortable prescribing, right? So most of them do have, it will give you the benefit of the doubt, and they are definitely open-minded enough to have the conversation with you. And if they're not, again, or if you don't feel, that they're listening to your needs, or you're not getting your needs met, then find another provider. So with all of that said, again, I really hope you got something out of today's podcast, and I am always here for you. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. I am all about helping you with your health and wellness journey. All right. Be well.